Hi, I'm archaeologist Carl Feagans. If you like these videos and want to see more of my work, be sure to check out my blog, The Archaeology Review, at thearchaeologyreview.com and ahotcupofjoe.net. There I mostly discuss fake, fraudulent, and fantastic claims in archaeology, but I also write about topics in historic archaeology, as well as the occasional product or book review. Thanks for watching. The Dendera Light. Is it really a light bulb? If not, what is it? Really? I know you were hoping to see Nick here with one of his stellar interviews or deep dives into ancient history, but he's still on the mend, and asked me if I might help out with a quick video. This is my first time ever hosting a YouTube video, but I'll try to keep it interesting. In the Temple of Hathor in Dendera, Egypt, are several panels with images of what appears to be a light bulb held by ancient Egyptians. Admittedly, the image does have the appearance of a light bulb, and it was probably Erich von Däniken that first suggested this is a light bulb, possibly in his 1996 book, The Eyes of the Sphinx.
Heute möchte ich einige Fragen aufwerfen und Antworten anbieten, die ganz bestimmt zu Kontroversen führen. Wie erleuchteten die alten Ägypter eigentlich ihre Oder? Ich bin ein Mann mit ketzerischen Gedanken. Kannten die alten Ägypter gar so etwas wie elektrisches Licht?
On page 172, he describes a panel on the north wall of crypt 1C of the temple as having what can easily be imagined as a bulb with a socket and a wire leading to a junction box and an insulator, while a baboon with knives symbolizes the danger of electricity to the uninitiated. This may or may not be the first time one of the 5 or so panels showing this lotus snake bulb configuration was associated with light bulb, but much has been made of it since. And I have to admit, von Däniken is right. It doesn't take a lot of imagination to see what he describes. It looks like a couple of guys holding a big light bulb or a flashlight. Regardless of the imagination, logic and reason tell us that this cannot be a light bulb. The technology to power a light bulb wasn't invented until thousands of years later. Looking closer, we can see the individual elements that are mentioned even by von Däniken. The lotus flower, the snake, the djed pillar, the people, and the anthropomorphic figure of the baboon. And if we leave the rest to imagination and von Däniken, we probably see the light bulb as well. However, it is very interesting to note what von Däniken leaves out. The image he includes in his book is a sketch of the panel, very much like the one you see here. What he leaves out is contextually relevant, which is the rest of the panel, including the writing which describes the scene we're looking at. So rather than simply use our imaginations, we can just read what the ancient Egyptians had to say. Speaking the words of Harsumptus, the great god, who dwells in Dendera, who emerges out of the lotus flower as a living Ba, whose completeness is elevated by the Kamatju images of his Ka, whose Seshemu image is revered by the crew of the day barge, whose body is carried by the djed pillar, underneath his Seshemu image is the primal, and whose majesty is carried by the companions of his Ka. Gold. Height, 1 cubit. So as we can see, the Dendera light is not a light bulb at all, but a representation of Harsumptus, or Horus, who is emerging from the lotus flower. But look back at this line drawing of the panel, and think of the words again. Revered by the crew of the day barge. The human figures in the image that are sitting, kneeling, and standing are actually on the deck of a barge, a ship, the hull of which curls around and forms the lotus flower. And from this flower emerges Horus as the serpent, held up by the djed pillar, a symbol of stability often associated with the creator god Ptah and with Osiris, the god of the afterlife. A djed pillar is a representation of the spine of Osiris, and if you notice the sections and the shape, it actually has the appearance of the vertebrae of a human spine. But notice in the translation of the text I read, there are references to the Kamaju and Seshemu images. These were probably referring to actual statues of Harsumtus, Horus, which were stored in this very vault. The murals on the wall and their accompanying texts are descriptions and inventories for items stored here and instructions on their use. Oh, and what about our little monkey friend? He actually has the face of a toad and is a guardian demon. The text next to him reads, "Your name is perfect as Wepwe. Your face is that of a toad. I have slaughtered your enemies with the knife, and I will fall your opponent in the place of execution." So he's not a warning about electricity. The djed pillar isn't an insulator, and the cable is a barge. Take a look at some other examples of ancient Egyptian barges and notice the shape along with the curled hull coalescing into a lotus. So he's not a warning about electricity. And the djed pillar, that isn't an insulator. It seems pretty clear that Van Däniken wanted only to appeal to the mystery monger in us all. I have to admit, in my youth, I found this light bulb claim to be very credible. But I can't help but wonder if I might not have thought differently had someone walked me through the symbolism and the texts that we can actually read. We know this isn't a light bulb, not just because the technology didn't exist yet, but because the Egyptian priests and caretakers of the temple tell us what it really means. By the way, the translation I drew from is from a paper by Wolfgang Weitges, The Birth of Harsumtus from the Blossom on the Significance and Function of Some Cult Objects in the Temple of Dendera. You can find it in a journal called The Studies in Ancient Egyptian Culture. I'll make sure there's a link to the paper through JSTOR in the description below. And if you like this video and would like me to keep helping Nick out while he's on the mend, give me a thumbs up. If you want to check out my blog, look for me at thearchaeologyreview.com. I'll put that link in the notes as well. And if you'd like to help Nick out, be sure to subscribe to his channel and check out the many videos he already has. You can also support him through Patreon, linked right below. Finally, if you didn't like my video, don't hold it against Nick. Feel free to tell me in the comments, but check out Nick's other stuff. I bet you'll find something you like enough to subscribe.